Talk Sheet. Recorded live.
Okay, so we've called in the energies of the four directions. Today is, February 17th? To the Gregorian world, to us, tapping into Mayan time now, is the energy of 10 flint or 10 obsidian. And this is a really, really interesting energy from which to launch our healing process of the Wayeb. And that is because I've been in fire ceremonies where when they've called in the energy of flint, they've asked all the healers to step forward into the inner circle. And if there's any one day sign that embodies and incorporates that healing energy, flint is that day sign. And it's interesting to make the connection because flint is kind of, you can think of it as the divine spark of intelligence, just like the flint has been used since time immemorial to light a fire. The obsidian is the other version of this, and in ancient times, the Maya used an obsidian knife or an obsidian blade to do surgery. And it's been shown that the precision with which you can make the cut with an obsidian edge is as accurate as the modern day tools that medical professionals use with their scalpels, etc. And so this all works together because essentially the healing process, whether it be physical surgery, psychic surgery, or any other version of healing, is to cut out the dis-ease that is causing the problems. And whether it be, again, emotional or physical or psychological or whatever, that's the essence of the healing process. That's the essence of this energy today. It's known in the Quiche language as Tijax, Tijax. So Tijax is healing energy that is present with us today, and it's going to help us formulate our intentions for the next 5 days. And it just sends chills up and down my spine to realize that this year's version of Wayeb is beginning with Tijax energy. And it's also a 10. And 10 energy is that of manifestation, of making real in the third dimension all the elements that come from the other dimensions, whether they're ideas or hopes or fears or whatever. The energy of 10 really helps them become palpable in the strongest sense. So with that energy working with us and for us, we want to thank you, Ahau, for the Nawal Tijax and the number 10, and appreciate and feel the strength and power and compassion of this energy as we step foot onto this healing path known as Wayeb. So Wayeb in general has been described on the websites, etc., and hopefully you've had a chance to review it somewhat. I'd like to take a minute or so to talk about it.
Barbara,
yeah.
May I say something?
Sure.
If you could either mute the lines or if everyone can press *6 to mute themselves.
I think that's a better solution, Joseph, because when I press mute all, I become muted as well because I'm not in on my pin, right?
Yeah, okay, that's why it's happening. Okay, so *6 to mute yourselves, and then when it's time to speak, *6 to unmute yourselves, or just press the mute button on your phone because we're getting a lot of background noise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it seems like it's cleared up. There we go. And there's a lot of people on the call here, which is wonderful.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for doing that. Great. Okay,
so
sorry to interrupt, Barbara.
There's a pretty lengthy description of Wayeb on my website. And if you Google Wayeb, for example, you won't find that much. There's probably been a lot more written in Spanish, and certainly it's been talked about in the Mayan languages for millennia. But the English version of this, you just don't find that much. So I'm really excited and thrilled to be able to share the essence of this, as well as a healing practice around this auspicious time. But Wayeb is a concept that comes from the third calendar that is reaching a new year, the end and the beginning of a new cycle. This is the third one that's happened now within, less than 90 days, since December 12th. And it's important to recognize that the 3 New Year cycles, I call them the trilogy. It started with the sacred calendar that hit a New Year's cycle, December 12th, 2012. But that cycle is a 260-day cycle, so that happens very frequently, right? And then you had the New Year cycle on December 21st, which is the New Year or the new Baktun, the new era that hadn't happened for 5,126 years. And this has happened, for us to witness in our lifetimes. And now, starting today and reaching towards Thursday, the 21st of February, is the New Year's cycle of the third calendar known as the Haab calendar, H-A-A-B. And this is a 365-day calendar. It's used throughout Mesoamerica. The scientists would say that this is a calendar that they're most familiar with, and it's used for agricultural purposes. But it's really used for a whole lot more than that. Of course, because it intermingles with all the other cycles, but also because of this Wayeb period. And the way they calculate the Haab calendar is that there are 18 months, and each one of those months has a day lord associated with it, or an energy, an archetypal energy. And then with each one of those 18 months, there are 20 days. And those intermingle just like wheels of a mechanical clock. They intermingle with the other cycles. So the Wayeb goes for 360 days, and then the last 5 days of the solar year cycle are used, they call it the time out of time, where the energy of the year is transitioning from one to another. And some people would say this is a good time to lock yourself into a cave for introspection, because the energies are very powerful and changeable. And it's the best thing to do under those circumstances is to become introspective to turn down your daily activity level and focus all of your energies and intentions within. So that's kind of like the safest way to accommodate these energies. And I'm going to introduce the concept of the year bearers, which is it's part of this whole Hob transition cycle. And it's very important to the Mesoamericans, including all the Maya. And the idea is that each one of these solar years has one of the deities, one of the day signs in our vernacular, that is responsible for the transit of the sun during that solar year. And it's that year bearer, they also call him a year carrier, carries the burden of making sure that the sun rises every morning, reaches its zenith in midday, sets in the evening, and goes through the underworld, which is the dangerous part, and then arises again the next day. And so this is a tremendous responsibility. And it is, it takes a lot of power. And it takes, and the Maya and the other Mesoamericans have a lot of reverence for the carrier or the bearer of that year. And so this past year has been carried by the Nawal 13 knowledge. And so that energy has influenced the entire period, 365-day period, that we have just come through. And at Wayeb, what we're going to be doing today, the focus of today's effort, is to look at our lives, our actions, our experiences, our feelings for that past 360 days and come to some kind of conclusion about that, some kind of clarity about that. Because beginning next Thursday, when the Mayan New Year's Day is, we're going to be transitioning to another year bearer. And the next year bearer that takes control is one wind. And the energy of 13 knowledge is very different from the energy of one wind. And you may want to say that for the past year, 13 knowledge has really been influencing us to use our third eye, use that mental capacity to understand, to grasp everything as it relates to the earth-based knowledge that we as humans have access to, because we have that third eye capability, because we have that kind of intelligence. So this 13 knowledge is about connecting to that level of knowing ourselves, our earth, our situation on the earth and in the universe. And now we're going, on Thursday, we'll be transitioning towards one wind energy, which obviously is much more etheric. It's really working with the ability to communicate in all fashions. And we're making that shift. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on each one of the day's energies, but this is that time where we're making that shift, and it's an opportunity for us to work internally to come up with a version of what what it is we want to create, what it is we want to manifest in the new year. So this is a very pensive and revered process that in our culture, we, at least in America, we would call this, okay, well, let's make a New Year's resolution. Well, this is a lot more elaborate than just coming up with a list of things that we want to do. And the method, or I should say the format for this, the way we have it outlined, where today we're going to review, tomorrow we're going to reflect, then Tuesday is the day of acceptance, Wednesday is the day of defining our intentions, and then Thursday is the renewal step. Those steps were taught to one of my elder teachers, whose name is Carlos Barrios, and his wife, Adriana Rojas. And they credit this format to one of Carlos's teachers. His name is Don Ramon Carabez. And it's important to lay out that credit for this lineage and to thank them for this. And they just communicated it for the first time that I know of to the Western world a year ago. And so here we are a year later, able to share in this format. And then for each one of those days' activities, I'm just kind of drawing from my own experience coaching and counseling and teaching and writing and studying and practicing over the last several decades. And so we'll put some form to these steps. And I think if we do it somewhat systematically, it will enable more clarity on the as a result. So let's take a moment, and I've encouraged everyone to have a journal or some kind of note-taking capability with them as we're sitting around our fire. And we'll just take a moment to go within and reflect upon the last year, the Mayan year, which would have been from this time in February in 2012 to now. And I think for most people here, self included, I mean, it was an incredible year, filled with meaning and wonder and sometimes confusion and doubt, but a very, very strong year. So just, sit tall and take a breath and just feel where you are right now and just kind of like do a flashback, a real quick one, on all that's transpired within this last cycle, this Mayan cycle called the Hab, from the Hab calendar. Whew. It feels really big. And it is. I mean, when you think of the special time that we're in and feeling gratitude and the fortune of being able to be alive and be awake at this time. And then just for a few minutes, because I really would like to open this up for some sharing, let's take a moment to kind of segment. If you could draw a big circle and then divide it up like a pie into 8 pieces. 8 pieces of pie. And each one of those is a segment or an aspect of you and your life. So if you've got 8 pieces of pie, in that piece of pie that goes from noon to 2 o'clock, that first piece off to the right, let's just label that our work in the world, career, life's work, business, whatever it is, however you want to label it. Let's just label it career or life's work, which may have changed over the past year. And then the next piece is community, family and friends, inner circle and the circles that we unite with. And then the next one is money, finances. The next piece is our inner circle, romance, intimacy. And then the next, this would be the 5th piece of the pie, is our health and our methods of self-care. And then the next is our social life, what we do for fun and entertainment. Then the second to the last aspect is our personal and spiritual world, our development, our evolution, our growth. And then the last aspect is our physical space, where we live. So we have these 8 different aspects of our lives.
Barbara, would you mind repeating those real quick?
Okay. Okay, so we've got this big round circle segmented into 8 pieces. And I'm suggesting people draw that out and then just kind of label it. The first is your career, your work that you do in the world. The second is your community, your family and your friends. The third is finances, money, currency, however you want to look at that. The next is your inner circle, romance and intimate connections. The next is health and self-care. And your social life, fun, entertainment. And next is your spiritual and personal growth. And then the next is your physical environment, your abode. And as you look at these different aspects, let's just take a few minutes to jot down in reflection of just this past year. We're not going to necessarily do your whole life here, but just the past year, those things that first come to mind in terms of milestones or thoughts that you had. And I'll just give an example. An easy one is in the area of career or the work that you do in the world. Think of an event or an action or an accomplishment or a challenge that you noticed, or maybe you want to jot down a couple of them. Same with all the other categories. The physical environment, let's say you've been telling yourself that you were going to move for the last 5 years and you haven't done that yet. And you notice that now because you're looking at your whole life, your whole life ahead of you. So just review. I mean, that's what this day is all about. And you may not come up with all of them in this moment, but let's just take a moment of silence and reflect upon these things and set an intention for today that we're going to reflect upon these areas of our lives, those aspects, those areas that we felt really wonderful about over the past year, and those areas that were like, well, could have done more, could have done it differently. So let's take a moment to do that in silence, feeling the guidance in our sacred space as we go through this process together. Just reflecting on what's happened. What was accomplished, what was not. Kind of a personal assessment. And as we go through the day, you may reflect also upon the factors that influenced these events, why they became prominent in your memory in this moment. And then as homework, I guess you didn't know if there was going to be homework here, but I'd invite you to look again at your Mayan cross and see what insights may come in reflecting upon this wheel that we've created together, or are creating together, and what you have come to know about the energies that you're working with in this lifetime, according to the Mayan system. And see where they complement, see if there's any kind of insight, special insight that may come about because of the reflection on both of these circles.
If I could just gently remind people to mute their phone. There's someone sounds like they're running water, washing dishes in the background or something. If you could make sure your phone is muted, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
So this is the basis of the information that we'll be building upon over the next 5 days. And it's a framework. You know, you're probably going to come up with a lot of different realizations. I'm hoping that. And again, always realizing that we on this virtual community are being supported by the elders and the walkers in Guatemala that are participating in 2 fire ceremonies per day. So, as some of you know, a fire ceremony may last 3 or 4 hours, and those in ceremony in Guatemala will be in ceremony most of the day because they're doing one in the morning and then one again in the midday or towards the end of the day. So be feeling that energy as support as well. And acknowledge that, you know, as they're calling in the ancestors, as they're connecting to the auspicious forces in the universe, we are as well. So that can help fuel our intentions, our clarity, and our willingness to continue to do our personal work. Because I honestly believe in the depth of my heart that we all know that that's the most important thing that we can contribute to the greater good, is to continue to do whatever we can to clarify, become clear, and become brighter lights in the universe. So with that, we've got 10 minutes. I'd like to see if there's any questions. I see a lot of commentary online. What was this? It's a circle. So order is not the key. The elements are the key. And they've been summarized here online as too.
Barbara, before it sounds like someone has the call on a speakerphone, and you might not think that whatever you're doing in the background other people are hearing, but if you have your phone on the call on a speakerphone, we're hearing what you're doing. So if you can please take it off of speaker, stop running the water, it would be very helpful for the other 90 people that are on the call. Thank you very much.
Okay, there's an interesting question here, and I'm really glad it came up. Guest 71 is saying they're looking forward to the day without time on the 25th of July. And it looks like a question. How is that intertwining with the Hob? But I am talking about the Zolkeen. This is my understanding of what this day without time is. It's my understanding that is not Mayan. That concept is not Mayan. It belongs to the body of work created by Osea Guayas and the Dream Spell calendar. And there are, thousands of people around the globe that practice using that calendar. But the whole concept of a day without time doesn't exist in, as far as I know, anyway. I'll qualify that strongly, but it doesn't exist. Every day has a day lord, or as we would call it, a day sign, overlooking the energies of that day. So it's a different calendar. It's not a Mayan calendar, an authentic Mayan calendar. So I don't know, or I can't really speak to how that would intertwine with the Mayan system of calendars. So that's it. And the day without time is not part of the Zolkeen, because all 260 days of the Zolkeen calendar, they all have a numeral, and they all have a day lord or a nawal looking after the energies of that day. So hopefully that answered the question. Is there anyone else?
Question?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Calling from Cleveland, Ohio, and my question is, if you've observed, like you were saying earlier, that for 5 years, you've been wanting to change something, but it hasn't quite happened, and it's causing a lot of inner conflict, is it a more auspicious time now to align with the new year and allow things to flow?
Okay, let me see if I can repeat that accurately. If a person's been working on manifesting something for quite some time, is this Wayeb time, the auspiciousness of this time, is it more likely that will manifest because of the Wayeb energies? Is that a summary of your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I would say yes, but I want to add to that the reason things don't manifest is because they're not ready yet. And typically, it takes a lot of, perhaps it'll take more clarity, it'll take more work, introspective work, to become really clear about what it is that you're looking to manifest. Because if you're off, even like just by one little degree, it may not come to fruition. So the Wayeb energies in this process that we're going through really should help clear the air, because by the New Year's Day, which is on Thursday on One Wind, hopefully a lot of that will be clarified, and you can then begin to see what unfolds in the new year, because we've got all new energy influencing the new year. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that makes sense. That points more to the inner work we have to do this week. Thank you.
Yeah, because if it's not manifesting, it's because something's amiss. Either something is blocking it, or maybe your intention is a little bit off, maybe it's a lot off. But doing this kind of inner clarification work should really enable that process to become more clear.
Thank you. That makes me feel more trusting of the process.
Right.
Barbara?
Yes.
Hi, this is Joseph.
Another Joseph. Welcome.
Yes. You mentioned that this last year is about knowledge energies.
Mm-hmm.
Is the idea, as we transition into the new year, kind of like after we kind of gather this knowledge, maybe introspectively, and in a way we kind of share some of that knowledge or communicate it next year, so to speak?
I like that. I like the way you put that. Definitely. Because the whole knowledge piece, 13 knowledge, 13 is the highest of the numerals, right? And so that is like ascension. That is come to the point where it's ready to flower, it's ready to burst, it's ready to manifest, it's ready to be communicated. So just thinking about this one day, I was like, okay, as of December 21st, it really felt to me like all the seeds had been planted. You know, a lot of people felt and perceived that we have hit the critical mass of individuals on the planet that either have awakened or are awakening, or at least to have an idea what this process is all about. So we have critical mass. The seeds have been planted. And now it's watering time.
Excellent.
So
thank you.
It's a different element, but wind it's about communication. It's about spreading the essence, the word, the energy, the light, and the wisdom far and wide. I think, as Joseph said in another call, to the four corners of the universe.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I like the way you said it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
There's a really good question online, Guest 77, Barbara. Do you have any advice as to what we can do when we feel frustrated by our inability to make things manifest?
Oh, make things manifest?
Yeah.
Well, as soon as I hear the word make, I think of something called force. And you can't force anything and expect it to really unfold. It's more about letting go so that it can come forward rather than trying or efforting or pushing to make it happen. So I think if you're struggling, that's a good indication that you need to push back. And, you know, a lot of people would say, give it to God, you know, rather than trying to make it happen on your own, or even in conjunction with other people. It's probably going to, whatever you're intending, whatever you want to manifest, may have a better opportunity if it had more space. And as soon as as soon as I hear the word make or try, it has a sense of contraction rather than expansion. So it's really nice to give it some space so that it can kind of find its own way. And a lot of times when things manifest, they manifest in a way that we hadn't even dreamed of. But the intention is the same. And we've got to be in a position to welcome that and be open to that. Does that help? Did I answer the question? Here it says, I think that when the time is right, the nudge is minimal. And somebody else says, I tried something a few years ago and got a sore head beating my head against the wall. And that's kind of what happens. If you're really struggling hard, then it's time really just to sit back, take a breath, and let the energies. And, you know, that's one of the purposes of the Mayan cross. And this is how the Maya use it. I mean, each one of the energies, each one of the nawals in your Mayan cross is a spirit guide. And each individual can call upon those nawals or those spirit guides for assistance. So that's why we use the Mayan mantra. If we want to amplify our intentions or, you know, get more aid at the spiritual level for helping things manifest here in the physical plane, then call upon the Nuwales. Call upon them. That's what they're there for, and they're just waiting for you to pay attention to them. Patience is key. Very key. Because we're part of the plan. We know that. We're part of the divine plan, but we're not in charge of it. We have free will, and part of that will may be to tell ourselves to sit back, look back, and just observe more, listen more, rather than push and voice and, try too hard.
Barbara, it seems like
so the circle, there's a question here
about the Mayan. What is the Mayan cross?
Yeah, and the circle that we just drew is not the Mayan cross. This is it's kind of like a life mandala. It's a schematic that is intended to help you reflect upon these aspects of your life this past year. And take a look at it, see what comes to mind. Whatever comes to mind first, jot it down for each one of these areas. And ruminate with it a little bit. And then later in the day or this evening, go look at your Mayan cross again. And listen to what the Nuwales are telling you. Read a little bit more about it. And just see if reviewing your Mayan cross brings you some insight into how to look at the last 365 days. Does that help? So this is a secondary tool. This is more like just to help you remember what happened last year. A lot of people say, "What happened last year?" And I have no idea. So, you want to kind of look at it systematically to help you remember. And even if it helps to, go back and look at your photos or go back and look at, but just it's a time of reflection. Let's look at what transpired. It was a huge year with a lot of magical and mystical things. There was a Venus transit. There was this planetary alignment. I don't know if you'll have the time, but I did a presentation about the year 2012 in review, and I made a video of it, and it's on the home page of the Mayan Cross website. And I just took a look at all these incredible things that happened historically and ensconce them in the wonder and the awe of these auspicious times that we're living in. And it's just kind of fun to look at it that way. So someone's asking if we can list the things that we're going to be doing again over the next 5 days. So today we're going to reflect more upon what happened this past year and have another look at your Mayan cross. And remember, you can click on each one of the elements of the cross, the numbers and the glyphs, but there's also a little place up in the upper left-hand corner that says Interpret Your Cross. Be sure to click on that one too. And there are some suggestions there. There are some ideas there about your Mayan cross at its fullest expression and your Mayan cross at a lower expression. And pay attention to those things, because tomorrow, on Monday, is the 11 storm day. I call it rainstorm, but it's Kawak in the Quiche language. And 11 energy is very strong energy for resolution, for looking in the mirror, for seeing what it is that's real and what is not. Today's energy is very good for that as well. So you've got 2 days worth of energy here, 10 Flint, 11 Storm. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at ourselves, not necessarily our life, but ourselves, our character, our judgments, and take a look at our gifts. And the Maya, like a lot of other ancient traditions, are really keen on looking at the underworld, looking at what I call the underbelly of ourselves, the shadow side. So tomorrow we're going to be looking at that. Tuesday we'll be looking at coming to grips with, coming into acceptance mode with all of these things that we've just discovered or reviewed about ourselves. And then the fourth day, we're going to take the fruits of that labor, if you will, and start to make some commitments, some plans about what it is we want to manifest. And this, according to the guests that called in earlier about struggling to make something manifest, this may be a very opportune time with added insight to revise what it is we want to manifest for the upcoming year. And then on Thursday, which is the Happy New Year day, we'll be using one wind energy to revitalize and renew ourselves and our intentions and our energies. So it's a process. And these 5 steps are the ones that were handed down to Carlos Barrios from Don Ramon Cadaveres. And these exercises, if you will, that we'll be blending in with those are things that I've picked up and used and work with through a variety of other systems, traditions, and bodies of work. So we're 10 minutes after. We need to open the circle now, unless there's one more question or anything else. Yes. Thank you, Catherine in Boston, who says this is such a rich process, and I feel privileged to participate. And I'd like to give everybody an opportunity just to feel the gratitude to our ancestors, towards our teachers, towards the divine, and for each other, for being together, heart to heart, soul to soul, and knowing that we all care as much about this work, as much about our environment, our world, and to feel just such fortune that we're able to work and share as we do, as we're able. So the heart of the heavens, the heart of the earth, the heart of the winds, the heart of the water, the grandparents from the east, the west, the north, and the south. Matiosh. We're offering our love and our light to you, for our loved ones, the entire world and universe for health and healing and growth. Feel your feet grounded, your spine nice and long. Feel the breath come in and expand the belly and the chest. And feel the energy on the exhale go into the earth and into the heavens, out to the arms. Feel yourself complete, whole, enriched. Much peace to all of you. Feel enshrined in love as you go through this process today and tonight. Have a sweet day, sweet sunny day here, and sweet dreams in the evening. And we'll meet again tomorrow, same time, same station. And again, thank you. I love the love, and Happy New Year.
Thank
and
you,
thank
everybody.
you, Joseph.
Thank you,
Thank
Barbara.
you for getting us through this. Oh. Anybody else? I'll unmute everybody. I think you can unmute yourself and share laughter or greetings or joy or whatever you'd like to share. And then
Barbara,
we'll close the call. Everybody.
Barbara?
Yes.
May I ask you where I would find the Mayan cross on the website to look at? And for the interpretation?
www.mayancross, just like it sounds, .com.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
and
much.
You'll type in your birth date, and your Mayan cross will appear. And just sit with it for a moment. Don't read anything. Just sit with it, and then start poking around. You'll find all kinds of little gifts and tools and information there.
Oh, wonderful. I'm excited.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions in the meantime, you can reach me at mayancross@gmail.com. I'll terminate the call now.
Thank you.
Stop recording
you.
first. Stop the recording first. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Zap.
Thank you.